Hello, 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 and welcome back to Coach's Corner. It is a Thursday, June 27th, and we are back with a brand new episode. We have a lot to get into. We have a lot of reactions over what it just happened basically in the 24-hour period from the NBA draft. We do have to talk about some losers that are suddenly injured or hurt or whatever you want to say. And we also have a team that decided to extend their defensive anchor. So, all that being said, I feel like we should start right off with the NBA draft, and that is where my Atlanta Hawks took Zachary Risasher. I'm going to get that name right because I have to, because he is my new small forward. That is right. He is the first overall pick. Many people kind of thought that was going to trend that way the more we got into, the day and the process of what was going to happen. Surely enough, it did happen. And I haven't really voiced my thoughts on him, throughout this, process from really, I focused on Donovan Clingan a couple days ago. I've talked about Alex Sarr, but Reese Asher is one of those guys where it's like he's been around the top, but I haven't really. I guess I didn't want to believe, or not want to believe. I guess I just didn't believe he'd be the pick, But here he is. Here he is now. And it's one of those things where I think he's going to grow on people and grow on this fan base, I should say, because you see French, you see a guy that's overseas, you're not interacting with watching him on a day-to-day basis. Like, it's just, you're not, and he doesn't even have the flashy measurables that Sarr has. If you you're not locked into his games, but you see a 7'2" guy that can shoot. No, he's a little bit smaller. He's 6'10" and can shoot. It's like he's not Alex Sarr size, but he can still do those type of things. And it's one of those evaluations where you're really projecting that he will grow and develop into his own, and that what he's shown recently is actually good on film and can translate, because you've seen, I think, an improvement in his shooting over the past couple of years. You've seen his defense get, I think, better in both on ball, off ball. You've seen his ball handling get slightly better. Like, you see these things that are improving. Now, it's not probably, NBA superstar caliber. And that's just a hard, not many players come in at that level, obviously. And people have been super low on this draft and this, that, and the other. But I think you can understand the process of, like, hey, I see all the tools that he has. He's 6'10" and can shoot. And I would venture to say that he is the best small forward on the Hawks as of today. This very moment, I think he's already an improvement from DeAndre Hunter, Garrison Matthews, respectfully. Like, he's going to be better than most of those guys on day one. Now, I don't know if he'll start day one because rookies are a little bit weird, but he should. Frankly, he should. He's, like I said, he can already create better than DeAndre Hunter, who is a 5-year pro. Like, it's just one of those things. He's going to be an improvement, and you hope that he grows and learns into, more of what his strengths are, works on some of his weaknesses. And like I said, at a 6'10" frame, a long, lanky wing player that can hopefully play both sides of the ball, there's going to be value in that. And, it's one of those things. He also isn't coming in and he's not expected to be the lead dog. That's another thing that I think helps him, is he is probably going to be a very good complementary piece from day one. I would say he's probably, if you had to do the pecking order of guys that are on the team right now, he would probably be 4th, 5th. Like, he's not coming in and immediately on a bad team having to be the number 2 option like Alex Sarr is going to be. He gets to come in, ease in. Trae Young's going to feed him easy looks. Jalen Johnson's going to feed him easy looks in transition. DeJounte Murray, if he's here, maybe he takes off some pressure by being in the mid-range, passing off. Stuff like that can help this young guy out. And the burden isn't going to be so heavy on his shoulders as a number 1 overall pick, where it normally is for those type of guys. So I like the pick. I do. I think it's going to grow on people. Right now, it's still a little fresh, so it's going to be a little weird. But the guy wants to be here. I think it makes sense. It's good to me. So, looking outside of Risa Share, I feel like it's kind of those fun things like media people like to do. where it's like we declare winners and losers immediately. Like we don't really look at like, hey, this guy could be good, this guy could be bad. It's either really good draft or really bad draft. And frankly, I don't want to focus on any of the bad draft stuff because I mean, I'm not an NBA scout. I'm not an NBA, I'm not going over to Europe, to France, where 4 players were drafted. I'm not watching those guys in depthly. I'm looking for my team. Like, I watched Risa Share, I watched Alex Sarr on YouTube, but like I'm not an expert on the the France guy that the Knicks took with the 25th pick, Pacome Didit. Like, I'm not a Pacome expert. I'm not. I'm sorry. So, I'm not going to call out losers. But a couple of teams that I think are winners, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota Timberwolves did an absolute, it kind of shocked me. It was a shocking move because they moved up to the 8th spot where the Spurs were, and they only gave up a 2030 and a 2031 first round pick to do it. They didn't give up any of their players, which I thought Naz Reid, I thought was gone. I thought that's what that meant. I thought we were just waiting to hear, like, see his name, but it never came because they only traded 2 draft picks in order to go to that 8th overall pick to select Kentucky's Rob Dillingham, who I really, really like. And it's one of those moves where it's super forward thinking, but also for a team that is contending today. Like the Timberwolves, frankly, with Anthony Edwards under contract, your window's going to be open for a while you have him. I don't think players that are in middle school right now, like the picks they traded, are guys that are, learning about algebra. It's like those guys aren't going to contribute to you, right now. You're in the win now mode, but you're also thinking forward because, like I said, Rob Dillingham is a point guard. He's an incredible scorer, a good passer. Defense is a little worrisome, but as I think the Timberwolves are, showing you with the rest of their team, the point guard defense, I don't think matters as much. I don't think guard defense is, frankly, it helps. It definitely helps. We just saw a team win a championship that way. I don't think it's an end all be all, and the Timberwolves are showing you, like, hey, we'll be okay. Because you also have to think about Mike Conley, who is their current point guard, who is a very key piece to them. He gets to help Dillingham learn and kind of, get his lumps early in the NBA because Mike Conley's not a young man. He's in his late 30s. Like, he was in the Al Horford, Kevin Durant draft class. That's kind of a long time ago. So, getting him in there, to learn under Mike Conley, like I said, he reminds me a lot of Lou Williams. Rob Dillingham is kind of like, I think if I had to say a role for him right now, it's probably Lou Williams. Off the bench guy, can score with the best of them, put up a lot of points. I just like Rob Dillingham a lot at this spot. Like, it's one of those guys. If we didn't have Trae Young, I would have been all over like Reed Shepherd or Rob Dillingham, which sounded like Reed Shepherd was in the mix for the first pick. But regardless, they did that. But then, like I said, they also kept their pick because they traded those middle schooler picks and drafted Terrence Shannon Jr. Now, he was just, they just got him out of a bad case where basically he is misidentified as a bad guy. Let's just say that. A bad guy with a woman. They misidentified him. He was cleared of that. So now he finds himself in the first round. The Timberwolves are like, you know what? That's a really good player. I think we're going to take him. And they do. And I love this pick because I really like Terrence Shannon Jr. I was with the allegations, I was like, no, thank you. But now that those are cleared up, he's an attacking wing player that can push the pace and isn't, I think, scared to really be the puncher off the bench as the wing position. And if you watch the Timberwolves, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a really good defensive guy. They didn't, they really just didn't have another guy outside of that. They didn't have a guy that can really handle the ball. And because Kyle Anderson, his name is slow-mo for a reason. He stinks. He's absolute terrible. He shouldn't be on an NBA court ever again, frankly. Terrence Shannon Jr., I think, can be the guy that kind of helps push maybe some guys down in the position. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker doesn't have to be the point guard. He can just go to like small forward shooting guard. And here comes Terrence Shannon Jr. to attack with the ball in his hands. I just really like those two players, and It adds to their bench right now, and it also adds to their future because Dillingham can be the point guard of the future for them. So I really like that move. The Grizzlies did a shocking thing where they took Zach Edey, top 10. Something that did not seem possible a month ago, 2 months ago. Regardless, we're here. The Grizzlies did it, and if the fit didn't make a lot of sense, I would hate this pick. Frankly, I'm not a Zach Edey fan. I just don't see it. I don't see a 7'6" dude working in the NBA in today's NBA. That it's just a fast paced game. I don't know if it works, but the Grizzlies traded Steven Adams. Brandon Clark was down with an Achilles a year ago. The whole team was injured. They're getting John Morant back. They're getting Jaren Jackson Jr. back. Desmond Bane's there. Like I said, Brandon Clark can come off the bench. It's one of those things. The fit just makes a lot of sense. John Morant's going to do his thing. He's going to attack the rim. Edey will be around the rim to get those rebounds. If he shoots, he'll be around the rim to get those rebounds. Jaren Jackson Jr. can kind of play outside to in. Like there's not a pressure for him to be the lone big guy in the center because even if Zach Edey isn't good on defense per se, he's just big. He's just a massive human being. So you can't move him out of the way easy. You can't attack him easily. Like there's just a weird element of Zach Edey that just makes him a naturally good defender is just because he's massive. He's just a giant dude. So like I said, it's one of those things that I don't hate it, where I think a lot of people do just because they hate watching Zach Edey in college. But once again, it's one of those things. He was 7'5" in a sport where there's not even a lot of 6'11" guys. So it made sense they would just dump it in the post and he'd be getting fouled and he'd shoot a billion free throws. It made sense. Now, the things will change in the NBA for him drastically, yes, but the vision I could see. And I feel like that's what a lot of NBA teams just need is for their fans to see the vision, their coaching staff to see the vision that what he can be. It's all potential in the NBA draft. And then the Lakers made another good move where I think they picked up a guy that can contribute day one. Dalton Connect, Tennessee wing player, wing guy, shooting guard, whatever you want to call him. I think this is going to be a really sneaky pick where we're like, how did he fall to 17? It's just he's a great creator with the ball. He can just score very well. He's a good shooter. Like he should be spoon-fed easy looks just because of the players that are on the Lakers, and what JJ Redick can do with him probably will be very good because he's a white shooter that was really good in college. I wonder who that is. It's just 1-on-1. And then the Celtics, I think they also got a steal in Baylor Shireman, who played at Creighton, who I think was one of the better players in the tournament for Creighton. Like, one of the best players in the entire tournament, like not just for Creighton, but he fits seamlessly into the Celtics, what they want to do with their tall white guy stable off the bench. Like he can probably shoot, he can attack here and there. Like they'll get him playing defense just by nature of being on the Celtics. Like it was just a really good move. It's just a really good end of the first round type of draft pick, I just love it. So, and outside of all that, I feel like I have to circle back to the New York Knicks because yesterday I made the take. I didn't like the trade. I did not like what the Knicks did with that trade because I thought it meant OG Anunoby was gone. They proved me wrong. They said, screw you, Lucas. We're going to keep OG. We're going to keep this thing together. And they did. They signed OG Anunoby to a 5-year, $215 million deal. Now, he has to stay on the court. He does have to do that. He's just a guy who hasn't been healthy, frankly. And at the end of the season, that kind of doomed them. But they're paying a lot for him. He's returning. I do love the defense that the Knicks are going to show. Now it's one of those things. I mentioned it. They got to keep Isaiah Hartenstein. If they got to trade Mitchell Robinson to do that, maybe. Like, there's still some dominoes that have to fall here, but the first big one I think they needed was OG coming back, and he did. So it's one of those things. I forget that Jalen Brunson signed with the Knicks for what now looks like a very reasonable bargain bin deal. It's just one of those things. They're not paying a ton of money to three guys that are going to be, I think, the three most important players on their team. Even outside of Julius Randle, Dante, and Josh Hart. OG, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges are going to be the most important players for this Knicks team. So good on them. And they also drafted 2 rookies at the end of the first round. Once again, their depth was the issue at the end of last season, and now those rookies won't contribute immediately, but down the road, maybe the boy, Pacome, what was his name? Pacome Didiat. Maybe he will contribute. We'll see. But those were like kind of the notable things that I saw from the draft. Other than that, it's names I really don't recognize, or it's guys that I don't think will play, particularly day one type of guys. Like Alex Sarr went to where he was supposed to go. Donovan Clingan in Portland makes a lot of sense. I hate it for him because I don't know if he'll truly get a fair shake. But I mean, Donovan Clingan kind of reminds me of Arvydas Sabonis, Domantas Sabonis' dad. So that's kind of cool how kind of a parallel there. But outside of that, like I said, I mean, a lot of stuff I think makes sense. Stephon Castle to the Spurs makes sense. Reed Shepherd to the Rockets makes sense. A lot of things that just make sense for this NBA draft, And, some teams have to keep the guys that they do draft, and the Miami Heat did just that. Bam Adebayo received a big-time extension, a 3-year extension, but I don't like it. Because I don't like it. I don't like Bam Adebayo. I don't like the Heat. And frankly, I think it's, people will say it's a bargain deal for this guy, but Bam Adebayo doesn't strike me as a guy that deserves a max because, yeah, his defense is great, but what are you getting from him on the offensive side where he isn't either, given these opportunities because the team wants him to attack or he's being spoon-fed opportunities? It's one of those things where it's just there's value on one end, but then there's not on the other side. And as a guy that could have, wrote it out, maybe made an all-NBA team, got a much healthier extension, like probably a $15 million, increase in a salary, he decided to sign it now. And why is that? Seems like the agency doesn't have faith in him to achieve that. It sounds like he doesn't have true faith in him to achieve that because they realize that, hey, he's only good on defense, really. What he does on offense, if it helps, it helps, but it's not game-changing. And that's what I think you're paying for is a game-changing type of player that only affects one side of it, one side of the game. So I think it's just a bad deal. I think it's something that's going to age poorly as we look back as the Heat are building this thing. They're paying Tyler Hero a lot of money. He's like the offensive version of Bam, where he does all this work on offense, but his defense is just people attack him. Jimmy Butler's getting older. They're paying him a lot of money. Do they want to keep him around? I don't know. I hate this deal. I don't think it's a good one, for the Heat. I think for Bam it is, but for him, like for the Heat, the Nuggets asked Bam Adebayo to beat them, like when they played in the finals. He couldn't do it. Like he scored a lot of points, but ultimately it was just points in games that really just weren't contributing to winning basketball. And you'll hear me mention that a lot, whether it's DeJounte Murray on the Hawks or Bam on the Heat. He contributes to winning basketball, but not championship winning basketball. So I don't like the deal. I just don't think it does much of anything. And, speaking of teams that I think are losers, the Oilers, they're certified losers. They lost the Stanley Cup, and now they're making statements that I hate. It's one of the more things that grinds my gears is teams coming out after they lose something and, claiming that all their players were hurt. The Oilers are doing that with, saying multiple of their stars, Draisaitl, like Connor McDavid, were all hurt with injuries. Get out of here. Get out of here with that garbage. Because just because you lost, you think you can claim, you're injured and, it's all good. And, we fought hard, but we were hurt. Get out of here with that because it's just a load of garbage. It's an excuse. It's a cop-out for a team that just didn't play up to the standards. And it's just one of those things like if you're so hurt, don't play. And the thing is, it's about this that hurts me more than anything. It's the playoffs and it's hockey. Hockey playoffs, everyone is hurt. Everyone is hurt. Like, whether it's the end of the series, whether it's the Stanley Cup, the second, round, like, everyone is going to be hurt or banged up or just sore because you're hockey, because that's what you guys do. You're tough guys. You're you're guys that don't complain about being hurt. You go out there, you skate around, and you score goals, and you just do it with the two teeth you have in your mouth because you guys are hockey guys. You don't cry about injuries afterwards. What do you do? You're not the NBA. It's just a garbage excuse. I hate that the Oilers coach came out or whoever did come out with this and be like, hey, our guys are all hurt. Like, if you guys won the Stanley Cup, would we hear about it now? No. Would I see that, headline on ESPN if you guys won the cup? No. It'd be Connor McDavid legacy talk. Is he the greatest hockey player ever? But no. Instead, it's like, oh, he's a whiny baby that's hurt. I hate that stuff. I hate it so much. It's why I hate Joel Embiid, is because he's always hurt. And then he complains about being hurt, but he still plays 40 minutes in the game. Don't play 40 minutes a game if you're hurt. Just don't play. Save us the energy. Save us the, I can give you the excuse if you don't play and you're hurt because you genuinely couldn't play. But if you're out there playing the 40 minutes or 20 minutes for hockey that you can, and you're saying you're hurt, you're not that hurt. Come on. Get out of here with that. It irks me. It irks me. Like, if you're out there and you're showing that you can't play that much, and then you probably should just be on the bench, I respect that more. But you can't play as much and as long as Connor McDavid did, and then claim injury once you lose. It's one of the worst things that I think you can do, is just a player for your own legacy, for how your public perceived. It sucks, and I hate that. It grinds my gears. As like I said, it's hockey out of all the sports that does this type of excuse. It does nothing for me. It does nothing for me to tell you that you are hurt. I'm not going to give you brownie points. I'm just, as a fan, I'm not. As some people might applaud you. I'm not one of them. I think it's absolute garbage. It's a joke. Just don't do it. Just avoid it. Just go off, be the losers, enjoy your off season, come back next year and try and win. Come on, dude. That. Gosh, I feel like I'm leaving on a bad note. I'm angry. I'm an angry Lucas. Either way, that'll do it for me this time. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff to the podcast, on the YouTube, wherever you do listen to podcasts, all that good stuff. I will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully with Bronny James maybe being drafted. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some trades. I don't know. Either way, see you guys next time. Goodbye.